lose. My Werewolf System. Chapter 1, 1092, Deck 23, 2024. Share. Despite how much Austin wanted to look at his phone to see the results of Gary's match and how it was going on, he knew they all needed to push ahead. If they managed to save Shin and gave the good news to Gary, then he could fight with no worry on his mind. After all, if Gary was ever to get the upper hand in the fight against Harver, this was the one card they had that they could still use against him. Oh, so what's the plan of some sort? Elijah asked. Before he knew it, Austin had already run right out from the forest, and Kanu looked to be following him along with Ice as well. Running across the concrete, it didn't take long for the shining floodlights to alert the one gang that there were people there. "Intruders! Intruders!" a man shouted. The one gang members, seeing who were upon them, started to transform. One of them, in the middle of their transformation, had been hit right by Austin's fist. The impact was felt so hard that the man was lifted into the air and had gone flying until he had crashed into the bottom of one of the floodlight stands. The metal had broken, and the light was bent, shining elsewhere, while the man was clearly no longer getting back up again. Kanu, on the other hand, had two altereds attack him. He ducked under their attacks in their transformed forms, and then grabbed both of their arms. He squeezed as hard as he could, and in an instant their bones were heard shattering, and a scream had followed. With their broken arms, Kanu then began to throw their bodies at the others that were making their way toward them. "I failed you, Jaden, but I won't fail your family the same way." As Kanu thought this, he grabbed onto another altered's face. The tip of his finger spread. He dug in with all of his strength until the skull itself could be heard breaking, and Kanu threw the man onto the ground. "Your gang has done too much harm to the ones I care about for me to start caring about you." Elijah had yet to join the others in attacking. Seeing how Kanu was reacting, though, he couldn't help but gulp. He had heard the rumors about Kanu before even joining his department. He was a squad leader that was relaxed, laid back, and lazy. There was always a smile on his face, but here there was no smile, and the actions he had seen today, he had never seen before. "Venting out your frustrations? I can't really say anything, and I guess with what happened today, I need to keep it a secret," Elijah thought as he lifted his transformed arms that were partly made of rock. One of the altereds had jumped in the air and was punching away at Elijah. They had a beast-like shape and muscles, so each of the hits were heavy as they hit Elijah again and again. Elijah eventually took a couple of swings, but as he did, the altered in front of him. My Werewolf System. Chapter 1, 1097, Deck 27, 2024. Share. From the very back of the warehouse, sobs started to come out from Shin's mouth. Tears had formed in her eyes and her body was shaking, but only ever so slightly. Her body didn't even have the appropriate nutrients to warrant the reaction of feelings she wanted to express. An overwhelming well of emotions had hit her after hearing Apollo's words. Him saying sorry? Did it matter what words he said? If he felt sorry, then how could he even let things get to this situation? Yet she wasn't able to say these words. The fight, it had to be over now. She lifted her head and could see in the distance that the other three that had entered hadn't made much progress, and a wall of
I have never been hurt by anything I didn't say.
God has given you one face, and you make yourself another.
Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes. Of Altered awaited them. Not only that, but Apollo was still in good condition to fight. For her, Zin had fought by Austin's side once. She knew how strong he was, the strength he had, and for Apollo to have bested him this way, she didn't expect the others to have much of a chance. She had underestimated his strength and the whole situation. Now biting her bottom lip, guilt was starting to fuel her entire body. Guilt that she for a moment thought that maybe these people could save her and bring her out of this situation. The situation she had put them in, and the situation that the others were now suffering because of her. It pained her heart greatly. Apollo stood in front of Shin, looking at her face, looking at her condition, and the tears barely falling down onto the ground. My family were heads of their own gang, and were saved by Harver. They were absorbed into his group, Apollo thought to himself. And eventually, I got to this position. I lived my whole life walking down the dark path. My fists have seen blood. They have killed for the sake of an order. So why, out of all of these times now, do I feel the worst that I have ever felt? Apollo thought to himself. As images of Gary continued to enter his mind at this moment, No! A voice was heard. Apollo lifting his head,